Hi guys, so I'm in a different setup today. I'm in my room and I just sort of decided that I was going to film a video since it was in my mind at the moment. So last week I watched a video from the lovely Karris from Karrisx, and she did a what's on my Kindle video, and I thought that was quite interesting. I found it really interesting to hear what she's been reading, and I figured I would just do my own version. So without further ado, here is what is on my Kindle. So here it is, here's my Kindle. I got it for my birthday last year and I absolutely love it. I said for ages that I wasn't going to get something like this, that I preferred to read a book in book form and that I didn't want to convert to the kind of electronic version, but I thought about it for a while and I thought, oh, it'd be so convenient, I can carry it around in my bag and take it on the train and take it on holiday and all that, and I really gave it some thought and I thought, yeah, I'm going to try it, and I haven't looked back. I'd still like to read a book in sort of, you know, traditional form, but I really love my Kindle, and especially when I went travelling it was absolutely brilliant because it meant I could have as many books as I wanted and I didn't have to, it wasn't taking up room in my suitcase. So if you're kind of thinking about maybe trying something like a Kindle, I would definitely recommend it. I find that it's absolutely fantastic and it hasn't taken over from like real books for me. It's just a really amazing sort of add-on, and I'm happy to read on this or read in a book, so yeah, I would definitely recommend trying it. So this is the inside of my Kindle, and if I switch it on, my home page at the moment is showing three books, the three books that I've looked at most recently, which are actually coincidentally the three books that I'm reading right now, and then it's got a we suggest, we recommend kind of thing across the bottom. So the books that I'm reading at the moment are, I am rereading Catching Fire, the second book from the Hunger Games trilogy, because I love the Hunger Games so much, and I saw the trailer for Catching Fire while I was in Australia and I just got really excited and was like, oh, I want to reread like the book. So I'm rereading that. I am also reading 100 Names by Cecilia Ahern. I really love Cecilia Ahern. I think she's brilliant. I really like the tone of her books and the fact that they have this sort of magical element to them, and they're so easy to read. You're not sort of sitting there having to like trawl through something really difficult, and a lot of the time you just want something kind of easy to read and something that you're going to get really caught up in the story, but you're not going to have to really sort of think an awful lot. And that's what I find with her books. I think they're absolutely fantastic. I think this is the third one of her books this year that I've been reading, and I've read most of them. Funnily enough, I haven't read P.S. I Love You, but I really like most of her books, and this one's really interesting. It's about a journalist, a girl journalist who has made a bit of a mistake in her career and has accused a man of a really bad crime that he didn't commit, and it's having a huge impact on her personal life and her career, and she doesn't really know what's going to happen. But at the same time as all of this, her friend and mentor and boss, who she was incredibly close to, has passed away and left her with a list of 100 names all connected to a story that she wanted to write before she died. However, all that Kitty, who is our protagonist, all that she has is this list of 100 names. She has no idea how these people are connected or why Constance, who was her boss, wanted to write this story. So she's left dealing with her own sort of personal and career issues to try and figure out what this story was so that she can write it. And so far I'm really enjoying it. The final book that I am reading at the moment, or in the process of reading, I've just started it, is The Great Gatsby. And I said that I was going to read this before the film came out, and I am probably about 5 or 10% of the way through it, so that's pretty bad. I've been really lazy in terms of getting on with it, but what I have read so far I have really enjoyed, and I really am determined. I think I'm going to go and see the film next week, I think. I can't remember exactly. What date is this? This is Friday, so at some point next week hopefully I'm going to go and see the film. So by that point I'm going to have read this book. I'm setting this as a target for myself that I'm going to go and read it before I go and see the film. So yes, these are the books that are on my Kindle at the moment that I am reading. Other books that I have kind of on the go, on and off, are, we'll skip through. I've got a book about blogging, which is quite interesting. I have downloaded The Perks of Being a Wallflower, but I haven't actually read it yet or sort of looked even sort of looked at the first page. I watched the film on the plane on the way to Hong Kong and I really liked it. It's kind of surprised me actually. I wasn't expecting it to be quite as dark as it was. So I'm really looking forward to reading that when I get around to it. What else do we have on here at the moment? Another thing that I did start to read was The 100-Year-Old Man Who Jumped Out a Window. What is it? Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared, by Jonas Johansson. I think I've pronounced that horribly, but anyway, it's a really interesting book, and I started reading it before I went to Australia, but my head just wasn't in the right place for concentrating on reading a book because I was so kind of like stressed out of like, I'm getting ready to go travelling and I need to make sure everything's all organised, and I think it's a book that kind of deserves your attention. It's basically the story of, would you believe, a 100-year-old man who on his 100th birthday decides he doesn't want to be there in the nursing home for his birthday party with all the OAPs, and so he climbs out the window and ends up going on a bit of an adventure, but the book is kind of interspersed with his sort of life story, and it's quite sort of political, and it delves into kind of different political issues from over the past, 100 years, and it's a really interesting read, but as of yet I haven't managed to properly get into it because, as I say, while I was getting ready to go to Australia I just wasn't in the right headspace, and then once I was in Australia I was reading something else, which I will see if I can find. Here we go, across the top here. This is the Trilled trilogy by Amanda Hawking, and I read this while I was in Australia, and honestly it was the perfect thing for me to read while I was travelling because it required absolutely no level of intellectual kind of thought, but I really got into it. It is basically a story about a teenage girl, an 18-year-old girl called Wendy, who discovers that she is a troll. It seems ridiculous. I feel like they've gone through vampires, werewolves, witches, ghosts, that whole lot, and they wanted just some other sort of form of mythical creature that needed to be discussed, and basically she discovers that she's a troll, not the kind of creepy like underground sort of trolls that we envisage from other books, but a kind of a beautiful troll from a community of trolls who she was sort of swapped at birth, a kind of changeling situation. It's definitely worth a read if you like this sort of that sort of like YA romance. There's a lot of romance going on in there, and that always is something that's going to appeal to me. I'm just a massive fan of any sort of romantic story, so if that kind of thing appeals to you, I would definitely say check this out because it is very easy and quick to read. I read the third book in like a day. Last but not least, for a book that's on my Kindle at the moment that I would recommend checking out, there's several things on here. There's Les Mis, there's Life of Pi, but this book over here, this is called Delete This at Your Peril, and it is by Neil Forsyth, and it's a hilarious book. It's a series of books which I didn't know existed, and a lot of people will probably be like, oh, why have you only found out about this now? But it's basically about an old grumpy Scottish man who's a bit bored, and he's been a bit of a con man and not really had a kind of set career throughout his life, and it's written as kind of emails that he has sent to these, these spam emails you get from people saying, oh, I live in such and such a country and I need to move money into this country, and if you help me then I'll give you X percentage of this £1 million or whatever. And he basically just sends these ridiculous emails back to these people, and it's absolutely hilarious. I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's a really good one for just sort of dipping in and out of. So I read it while I was reading, I think, a couple of other things, but you can just read it in chunks because there's sort of, it's not chapters, but the chapters, if you want to call them, are the conversations between him and the other person he's emailing, so it's just the email chat sort of back and forth. So it's really easy to dip in and out of this one, and so once you've read a batch of the emails you can just sort of put it away and then come back to it a little bit later and read another sort of batch of them, and it just was absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed it, so definitely go and check that out. So I'm going to leave it there for the what's on my Kindle video. I really hope that you enjoyed that. If this was the kind of video that you'd like to see more of, definitely let me know and I can film more of these kind of videos in the future, because I love finding out what other people are reading, because I like to get recommendations for things that I should be interested in reading myself. But yeah, if you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments below and I will speak to you again soon. Bye!